Super, thank you, Mark. Hi, everybody. Some of you will know me. I am Kirsty Lawrence, Project Manager on the Digital Economy team. I am here today with two amazing people from IFB in Aberdeen, Graham and Jana. I'm going to spend just a few minutes at the beginning just telling you a little bit about the digital economy more broadly before handing over to our industry folks to give you the exciting stuff and the detail, I guess. So by 2025, which is less than 2 years away now, right? 94% of the entire UK population will use a smartphone. And I think we're probably already there. I bet if you'd have asked us 10 years ago, probably most of us wouldn't have used a smartphone. So that just shows how quickly the pace of technology is and how ubiquitous some of the technologies that we're using are becoming. We spend 2.5 hours every day online on our smartphones. So we're doing everything, right? You know that work, entertainment, shopping, learning, technology really is part of every aspect of our lives. And it's not just our phones and the internet, right? There's new innovations happening all the time. And I think what is important to point out is that they're happening here in Scotland and they're happening across Scotland. So just going to pick out a couple of these pictures here. We've got the UK's first vertical spaceport being built in Shetlands with a launch expected later this year. We have due to have a drone corridor to deliver medical supplies for the NHS in the north, and there's a hope that it will actually deliver treatment for cancer patients in remote areas. And maybe also mention that in Edinburgh, the Robotarium, I'm going to say that with confidence and pretend I've got it right, is actually helping to integrate robots into assisted living in our everyday lives. So helping us to become used to actually living and working with robots together. So I think they're really interesting examples of things that are happening here. Technology is used in every single sector in Scotland, and I would say there's absolutely no exception for that. If you think about the sectors we have here, there's examples of technology being used in every single sector, and I think it would be hard for you to find something you consume where technology is not a vital part in the creation of that product or service. And that's everything from space to healthcare, to agriculture, to finance, to education. We are using technology and there's new technologies being created every day. So what does all that really mean for jobs? Technology is creating new jobs all the time. We have, I've put some interesting job titles up here that I found. It's not necessarily important that we know what they are, just that we're creating new jobs all the time. And what we're trying to do is prepare young people for jobs that we're not actually familiar with ourselves because they weren't around, they've not been around for that long. We have loads of jobs in technology, actual pure tech jobs, cyber people, data people, software people. We've also got lots of new jobs being created all the time, weird and wonderful things that we haven't heard of. And I think the point is that that's always going to be happening now. So we're trying to prepare people for things, for jobs that we don't necessarily understand or are aware of ourselves. And we've also got technology transforming the existing, and I guess what we could call the more traditional jobs that we have in society. So a really good example of that would be policing. We've moved from a purely physical environment to now having to detect crime and protect people from online criminals that we can actually see. So everything is being touched by technology, and there's a need for technology skills in every sector and for just about every job and role as well. Now, just to finish on a few, I guess, of the more sort of drier facts, there's quite a bit of information on slide 8, which I'm moving onto, and you can digest that in your own time. But what I wanted to say was that demand for technology skills is growing faster than ever. We have tech businesses who need people to work in technology jobs as well as other types of jobs. We have other organizations who need people to work in technology jobs. That is finance, energy, public sector is a massive employer of technology roles, creative industries, oil and gas, all of those sectors that I shown earlier. And the third element is that all organizations now need people in all jobs to have technology skills. So when we put this slide up here, saying that we need an additional 13,000 new people to work in technology jobs every year, that is just pure technology roles. What that doesn't take into consideration is the requirement for technology skills in all of those other roles. I honestly believe that the need for technology skills will grow until it is as ubiquitous as the need to read and write. And I bet there's some folks that would argue that we're already there, right? So we have to prepare our young people for that future, and we have to help them realize the opportunity that technology skills present. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to pass over to Graham. And I'm going to put myself on mute, folks. I'll speak to you later.
Thanks, Katie. Afternoon, everybody. This is who I am. My name's Graham Gordon. I'll give you a little bit of background about where and why I'm here. We are very, and I am, but we as a business are very aware of the digital divide that exists. And we do our best to try and bridge that. And that's upping the bar, not lowering the bar as much as possible. So we'll get into a little bit of that as we go through this as well. We also know we're not educationalists. You know, we're great believers that if we can help somebody who's really good at their job, a teacher or a lecturer or somebody like that, about what we do, you will convey and impart that knowledge much better than we will to a much wider audience. So our commitment is to make these things that we do, that we're expert in, as convenient and as understandable for you to communicate them. So we're a managed services provider. We've been going around 27 years. We were formed in the same year as Google. My bank account is slightly smaller than theirs, but we've been around that long. So we've seen a lot of technology change and impact businesses. We're on slide 11 now, just for everybody. So there's the corporate slide. We do connectivity, we do cybersecurity, which is the real growth area for our business and any business in this space. But really, we communicate, we provide the infrastructure and the security and some of the tools that allow people to communicate. From a geographical point of view, we work a lot with city councils in terms of putting infrastructure in, so you can all access Google Classroom without buffering and do it securely. So we do that for lots of councils as well as lots of private organisations. If you're having problem buffering, you know who to phone after the call. So who am I? So I'm an engineer. I mean, we're talking about engineering really as we move forward, and in its traditional sense, you would have physically seen me as an engineer and the products that I did, or lots of people would have done, whether that's shipbuilding or construction. We've now moved into digital engineering, where the impact can be much greater than it's ever been before as an engineer, but the skill set you need is still the same. Still, you've got to be numerate and you've got to be literate to be a good software engineer if you're in that space, or a good digitech person. But we understand that. So back in the day, when I first started out, which was a long time ago, if you consider the business is 27 years ago, I used to help build these things, ROVs. You maybe call them drones now, but these are remotely operated vehicles that work in the North Sea and other places. And I was an engineering tech on those early developments of mid to late 80s. And help build some of the electronics and in that space. I was in retail and I worked for John Lewis for a while, and what that gave me as a discipline as a person was the customer was always first. If you can communicate with the customer, if you can understand what their problems are, and you can make them feel at ease, people will come back to you, people will deal with you. So I really enjoyed my time at John Lewis. They were a great trainer of people because they were a people business. I DJ'd for a number of years, not quite like Adam here, but I DJ'd for a number of years. I actually started DJing when I was about 14 because of my passion for music. And really that led me to some really amazing places and fantastic spaces. And that allowed me, and that was really through my passion of music, but also being around people, taking my energy from people and working with people. So I did quite a bit of nightclub stuff and a little bit of radio stuff. Then I moved into sales, and this is everybody's idea of a salesperson. You can see that I possibly don't look like that. I mean, the hairline and the waistline are completely different. But sales is a really good thing. You know, people, I remember when I first got my first sales job, my dad, he was a very traditional, he was a painter and decorator, was shocked that I was moving into sales. But it was the skill set that I had that was unlocked by working and being with some people round about me. And I knew what I wanted to do. And it wasn't necessarily traditional engineering. I wanted to move into something that was a bit more creative and could make me some more money. Through that, I became a CEO, just through relationship, being in the right place at the right time and willing to take a step forward. And that's led to some amazing opportunities for me. I've been very lucky in my career path. I've worked hard for it, I believe, but also I've taken the opportunities that have stood up. I'm a TEDx speaker, which I've really enjoyed, but it was the preparation to become a TEDx speaker. I had the idea, but I had to turn that idea into something that TEDx would let me go on the stage and rabbit on about. And you might have guessed by the time you get to the end of this slide deck, I do enjoy a rabbit. As part of that as well, I'm just back from a week of really quite intensive training as a non-academic, as a non-learner. I think the Simpsons famous quote here is elected to lead, not to read. I think the challenge for me is I don't read a lot and I'm a reluctant learner, but I love learning. And the MIT experience, which was a weeks-long entrepreneurial development program in Massachusetts, in MIT in Boston, was incredible. And I'm really keen and already imparting some of that knowledge and experience back to others. And I suppose as you go through that space, you know, I'm a family guy. You know, my three kids, Cameron, Katie, and Athol. Cameron's in employment. He works in data in Scotland. Katie works in marketing for IKEA. And my youngest one, Athol, is started his own furniture rental business. So they've been lucky that we've been able to get them to that point, but we are lucky that they've wanted to go off and do some really exciting things. But most importantly, I am Ozzy's dad, as some people will refer to me in the park. He's been a recent addition, but that gives you a little bit of background. I'm no different to anybody else that you are and you're going to encounter or anybody that you're going to teach or work with. The opportunity right at the start, I did an HND on block release in electronic engineering because there's no way I was going to get into university. And there's no way I would have handled a full-time education course, further education course. I had a fantastic first boss who put me into an education program and block release in Aberdeen. So I say this flippantly, but as Katie has said, tech is everywhere. And depending how old you are, what you do and how you do it, it affects you more or less. You take it for more or less granted, but it is absolutely everywhere. And you'll need to understand it. And this is especially important, I feel, in education and where you guys come in terms of us trying to help you as educators and educating the educators. It is everywhere, but it just doesn't mean that you're a geek. There are some very non-technical people who are geeks in their roles, but use tech to help them get through that. I hope I can explain that a little bit more as we move forward, but it's here. Slide 14, you know, there's a wonderful drawing of an office environment, but there's a lot of tech in this space. And this is probably not a tech company. This is a company that reports in its productivity, its sales performance, its manufacturing performance, its bus route performance. But right at the heart of it, there's a lot of tech that enable all of this to work. And the people who work in this business know how to use the tech, and more importantly, know how to leverage and make more of that tech as you move forward. Slide 15, you step outside the office. This is why it's everywhere. The genie is out the bottle in this one. You know, we have technology. It's immersive. We live in an immersive technology environment, and I'm very conscious, again, forgive me, about that digital divide and how we can all play a part in that, and not making tech and digital jobs for very few people. How do you open up the access of that as tech becomes more affordable, certainly becomes more safer and much more commoditized? How do we ensure that everybody's given as an equal an opportunity as possible, and certainly as they want to take? So, a digital native, here's a definition of a digital native, but what I'll mean is that I remember before a computer there was a fax machine, and before the fax machine there was a telex machine, and before there was a telex machine we had to write things down. And when you get to that point, we're now dealing with a generation and generations of people who are digital natives, and that can be challenging for something that is as structured and, for want of a better word, traditional as education. There is a process that you go through in education that is well defined for good reason, that delivers an end product, both in primary, secondary, and further education, if that's where it goes. The upside of being digital natives is they're learning, I believe, we're on slide 16, they're learning much more quickly and much more laterally than ever before. Learning materials are learning material in video format or audio format or written format is much more readily available real time. And that has its good and bad points. You know, that's where the structure of schooling and education comes in to guide that seeking of new information. But as an employer, we're looking for people who are tech and digitally smart. We want people who can use the technology, understand the technology, but more importantly, understand the problems that we have as a business and people within our business who can help us solve those problems with or without technology. We're a people business. We might be a tech company, but we're a people business, and that's really important. That use of digital tools in your role, whether you're in a business or an organization, you could be in health and education, as I say, you could be in energy, you could be, you know, in our business, you could be in finance or legal. It's being secure and comfortable in using the tools, and that security part is not just having to go everything and not worrying about what you leave behind, making sure that you're using these things competently when you're, as an employer, that you're not foolhardy. We want people to be coming back in to where we're at. We're on slide 17 if anybody wants to see there. From our point of view, we're looking for people who come in with confidence, and that gives them the comfort and us a comfort that we can let them use some of the tools that they bring to the party as well as we have in our space. You know, from where we are as a business, we're a people business. We've got a lot of tech in our business, but no more so on the other side of the street here, who are a dairy. You know, they use a lot of technology in there. But we have a sales team, we have a provisioning team, we have a finance team, and they're all using digital tools in our business for our customers and for our suppliers to help us grow the business. And if we grow the business, it means we can employ more people. If we grow the business, it means we can better educate and train and develop the current people we've got in the teams. And it's a big part of what we do, because we're seeing not only do people, not only new employees want to be part of something that's successful, but they also want to grow and develop themselves. And a lot of that real-time learning is much more instantly available. You don't have to go to Boston to learn what I learned, but it did work fantastically well for me. But the real trick is which of these can be adopted to the benefit of the role in your business. And that's a two-way thing. That's the employer making the roles and responsibilities and the expectation of an employee very clear. And we need help with that, and we need to help you with that. I personally see that education is getting young people ready for the world beyond education, whatever that may be. It might be a piece of paper, it might be a further certificate, it might be coming straight into work. But if you can get people ready to come across my door and fulfill a role, it's a two-way thing. And how do we work with you to help that? Don't be afraid to experiment. And what I mean by that is technology now means that you can experiment in the classroom. You can use new tools. You can use new ways of working. You can try them out in a much more manageable, confined, quick to start up way than ever before. And we like that as an employer. We can fly a kite with a new product or a service or an idea way quicker than we've ever done before. But we're doing it actually just now with a new product line that we think there's a market for. We think it's a great product, but we want to make sure that the problems we think we're solving for our customers are actually real. So instead of just going out and speaking to half a dozen customers, what we're doing is we're using technology to put polls and surveys, but much more than that, you know, adverts on Facebook and social media platforms where we think our customers are going to be talking to them about the problems we think they have. So we can gain feedback from not just half a dozen or a dozen or 20 or so phone calls, from 200, 300, 400 people who are not even customers. And what that does is it allows us to experiment and go, no, the market doesn't like this, or the market does like this, but we need to change it. So where you've got people that you're working with in terms of how you're educating, and include yourselves, you know, look at some of the tools that you can experiment with, providing they don't blow up in your face. And that's that's always the chance with an experiment. But if it's a small explosion, if it's a pluff rather than a boom, it's something that you should encourage. Experimentation you know, in business, people will sometimes call it fail fast, but experiment, because experiments are exciting. Failure is never exciting. The main jobs as we see them, data is everywhere and in every role. So how do you make sense of it? People who can understand data that is relating to the number of boxes being shipped and how late they were or how on time they were and how they could improve that cycle. That's data. We're looking for people to think about that as, are you a data scientist, or are you just somebody who's really good at logistics and knows how that should work, but actually uses the data to help you improve your business and the customer experience? And that's a basic form of it. It's trucks, it's boxes, it's people, it's shipments, it's purchasing, but all of that is surrounded by data. I mean, we can all track our orders from online now. All of that is data. You know, knowing where that box is, or where it's sitting in customs, or it's 4 stops away in Amazon. All of that data there is just brought together to give us a much better user experience. You feel warm and fuzzy or panic because you're not at home that the delivery driver is 4 stops away. That impact is from data on a traditional business. We're saying marketing now. It's no mistake that you'll be listening to my presentation and you'll probably go into your social media tonight at some shape, manner or form, and there'll be a job about data scientists pop up somewhere. That's because the tools that we're using, and the genie is out the bottle in this one as well, the tools that we use everywhere in this data-rich tech society talk to each other. So you can use that as a benefit. There is a reason that IKEA put plants in pots and alongside certain parts of furniture and bed linen, and they have rooms in their environment that are reflective of 1-bedroom single parent families, or somebody with a larger study, or whatever it's going to be in that space. All that marketing data is being really brought together really, really smartly now, and that pervasive. I was just thinking about that, and it's popped into my feed. It's not a coincidence that happens. So that's a good or a bad thing. That's been around since Tesco started having a club card, and club card tells you that Tesco knows that I've got 3 kids, a dog. One of them's in nappies, the kid's not the dog. I like baked beans, and I usually have fish at the weekend. The Tesco club card, way back in that date, was all about data collection that helped them improve the quality of the product that they had in their store on a Thursday when I walked in, because they knew it was a Thursday. And there is a massive market in that space, and people who understand that space and can use the data don't need to be overly technical. They need to understand the interpretation of what that data means for the customer and for the business. And if you can take all of those 3 points together, if you can encourage people on slide 20 to come together and do a little bit of software coding, and this is where experimentation, and I know that it's resources, we talked about 13,000 jobs in Scotland this year in digital and tech. There are only 2,500 computer science graduates coming out of Scotland at the same time. So we have a shortage, but how do we fill that, and what do we do? Industry plays a part in that. We really want, especially SMEs, because we want people to stay in our region, in our area, and have an impact for us. But if you can tie in a little bit of software development and a little bit of coding into those problems that sit above in traditional businesses, it's a differentiator when it comes to employment. So what skills are we looking for? We're on slide 21 now. You need to be driven. We're really looking for you to, how do you find something that drives that young person that is in your class or in your community? And we can play a part in that. And it's not because I'm going to come in and slap my hands and go and roll my sleeves up and go, yay, let's go. It's people are driven in different ways at different speeds and at different times. It doesn't really matter. And you could call driven and put passion in there. You can substitute the two, I believe. It doesn't really matter what you're about, whether it's music or flowers or people in your community or tech. We're wanting people who come in, and when they're being interviewed, we're learning about them. We take it for granted their CV and they technically can do the job. What we really want from them is to be a little bit more exciting and differentiate themselves. The key thing for us is how do we help you teach better communication skills? Be numerate and be literate, but be able to speak to people, and that can be painful. That can be really painful for a lot of people. And not everybody needs, limelight is not the only light to stand in, or LED light in this case, but it's not the only light to stand in. There are a lot of very, 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 brilliant people who don't like stepping forward, but they can communicate their passion, what they're driven about, to allow other people to step forward. So a good grasp of English we look at, and good maths is a huge benefit for us. And be able to learn is vital, you know, picking things up as you go through, but sharing that learning. And that's where the learning and the communication needs to be bridged. You know, that's a thing that don't write it down on a pad and then just fill up pads of material. Really, we want people to be coming to us and sharing their learning in a relevant way. And pick up a coding language like any other language. I am fluent in English just about and no other language. And it's one of the biggest regrets I have in my life is not being able to speak another language. It doesn't mean I shouldn't, and I shouldn't pick it up. But parlez-vous français, when I was 14 at school and 11 at school, didn't turn me on. How do we get those three things above there, helping people speak other languages, but think about coding as just simply, or more difficultly, as another language? What you should look out for is security and cybersecurity, and that's behavioral as well as technology-wise. I think you will be surprised at how much young people know about cybersecurity and keeping things safe than you do. They are between the ages of about 11 and 15. They're traditionally much more secure than you are. Not about the content they're sharing, that's a different thing, but how they share it in terms of passwords and basic security. They are very, very articulate in this space, and there's a learning to be had there. From historical points of view, when software appeared, when Microsoft appeared and Google appeared and all these things appeared, it was said by the guy who developed Netscape, software has eaten the world, but it's already done that. Data is eating the world currently, and that's what's on the go. And the thing that's over the horizon is AI. AI eats everything. It eats data and software, and it is, I mean, you'll hear a lot of chat about ChatGPT currently. Go in and ask it, if you've used it, great, go and use it again, but go and ask it to do something really acute and obtuse. You know, why would Santa want a Saturday job in Tesco? Ask ChatGPT to come back with that. And you might go, why on earth would I do that? Think of the most obscure things, the obscure, difficult problems that you could ask a bot, piece of artificial intelligence, and it will come back to you. And it's only 6 months old. It is an amazing tool if used and when used properly. And all of this needs protected. So if you've got young people in your class and in your environments who want to get a job in tech, software is great, data is fantastic, AI is the future. These things are complicated and difficult, or they're easy to get into because they're looking for people with the skills that come into them. I mean, there's a lot of investment coming into the space. Microsoft have just invested 10 billion in the parent company to GPT, but cybersecurity is a massive one. Everything we need to do is be secure. And I tell you what, most businesses are not. But that's a different slide deck. So everybody needs help in this space. The more digital stuff, the more data that's out there, the more applications, the more difficult it becomes to manage and make secure. So why work in tech? You know, it's never going to go away. Kerry's alluded to this. It's only going to get bigger. The opportunities are only going to get more. And there are so many jobs. If you think about where engineering has gone from shipbuilding to electrical engineering to software engineering to what's coming next, quantum physics, quantum mechanics, all of these things come together and it's never going to go away, and it's always going to be different depending on the problems you're solving, depending on which industry you're in. It's going to be a different problem. But if you have a basic level of skills in there, you can transfer industry and you can transfer marketplace and you can transfer country. Coding is written in a language that is universally translatable. So from that point of view, you can code anywhere. It affects every other industry. Absolutely has an impact in every industry that you can think of in some direct or indirect manner, but more direct than ever now. And you can use it to make a real difference, you know, to try and travel the world 20 years ago and sell your idea for cleaner water in Africa and raise money for it and get that done, you know, was a difficult thing. You can use tech to make a difference really quickly now compared to where it was before. Or you can just use it to be a happy person. You just be a happy sausage, make a living, be happy. But you can use it to make a real difference. And it's really, really exciting. It's something that at my age, I'm 55, think about there, I'm 55, I'm still massively excited about after 2 weeks in MIT, coming back going, right, well, what are we doing next? And I think I'm only halfway through. It's how you make somebody like me or somebody much more exciting than me relevant to the people you teach. it's a labour and skills shortage. We don't have enough people in the system right across all disciplines in every industry, but the skills in our industry are especially difficult. You know, there are 130,000 applications for computer science courses in UK universities in 2021. But by the way, we've still got 13,000 Digitech jobs unfulfilled, roles unfulfilled in Scotland. You know, so 10% of those applications, you know, how many are filtering through? We're only producing 2,500 computer science graduates. How do we change that up? I saw earlier, it was, I think it was Mark, your background was about Apprentice Week. Think about things differently. I did block release because I couldn't do university for lots of reasons. I earned money while I was being educated. I thought that was amazing. So grad courses are obviously, but modern apprenticeships are just an amazing thing. I know for sure Robert Gordon's University in Aberdeen are running modern apprenticeships right across the digital spectrum. And so they are really good, and they are something that you should really, and we would employ, we have employed modern apprentices into engineering and network roles. And that ongoing training, you know, don't think just because you've employed somebody that they're going to be fulfilled in their job. You want them to be remain fulfilled and remain happy. And now has never been a better time to provide that online training than ever before. So, two examples of what we've got in our team. Jana is on the call today. She's on our business development team. Jana's originally from Slovakia. She's been in Germany. She's played football internationally. She's great. She runs our marketing. She runs our sales side of things, and she leads up our cybersecurity side of us when we're engaging with customers. So, and she has a lovely young daughter called Jana, who's getting into that mode as well. She happens to be quite a pushy mum, but that's all I'm going to say. I'll live that one. I'll pay for that one a bit later on. And then we've got Kendi. Kendi's Nigerian. He came to Aberdeen for oil and gas, but he's working in our team as well, and he's involved in solving next generation phone system problems. And these guys are constantly learning. They're great ambassadors for our industry, great ambassadors for my team, but great ambassadors for the industry. These guys, and there's more than 2 people in the team, let me just put that one in, but these 2 are really good examples of continually learning, want to pay back, want to get involved, really happy to do so, and really excited by what they do. So, impact of the pandemic, work from anywhere, that genie's out the bottle. It impacts security, people skills impact, and that's the biggest thing about the pandemic for me. There's definitely a drop-off in people's willingness to engage, even in simple circumstances. And that's the negative thing about working from home. If that could be switched back, I think we'd be in a different place. We would have more people engagement. People would be much more confident. It would solve a whole heap of social skills as well as educational skills. But does it allow us an opportunity to rewrite or rewire education? That's for you guys to think about and how we can help in that space. So we're not teachers, but we'd love to get involved in helping. We're really involved in online teaching with a school in Aberdeen who are bringing some of their courses online, and that's the right thing to do because it spreads the word. It spreads the word in terms where you've got limited resources. We love the idea of sponsoring a teacher. So if you're a teacher who wants to learn more about what we're looking for as an employer, get in touch. You know, we'd love to be able to help you out in that space. And we love the idea of teachers and us helping you educate young people about what work looks like. Not just I suppose I'm a technologist, but I'm not very techie. But we love the idea of you guys using us to come in and do something like this, or something in your classroom, or getting Jana or Kendi to come into your teams, whatever's relevant for you, so we can help them educate them on slide 27, about what work looks like. So that might have been quite a download, but I've got a really fast internet connection, and that's why I was going so quickly. From my point of view, Katie or Lisa, I don't know if you want to open the floor up to questions now or how you want to do it. For us, we're very passionate about this, and we could do this all day. We've got to run a business as well and make some money, so we've got to fit it in. But I'm absolutely delighted to be part of this, Katie, and thank you very much.